Welcome back, class, to another episode of Animation Collab, where I experiment with techniques in my animation laboratory in collaboration with other artists. This series, or today's stream, will be continuing the collaboration with Andy, ROT169 on YouTube, who does IT-related security videos, and we've come together to collaborate on one of his videos. His graphics are quite simplistic, and he's asked me if I could help him with the animation of one of his upcoming videos. If you haven't seen that, I encourage you to watch my past streams on this subject, on this collaboration. They're all available on my YouTube channel. You can find them either in the live stream replays, where you'll find all of my past replays, or you can watch the playlist specifically about the animation collab. So, I'll show you what I've got so far. I'm gonna open the storyboard that I have for this project. That's just gonna take a little moment before Illustrator decides to come in. I think, can you hear me well? I think my microphone is really, really low. My gain was actually super high, so I'm gonna check my microphone settings, because I think the mic is a little low. And sorry, it got a little bit darker because my Illustrator is in dark mode, and I don't have a light that's facing me. I only have this light behind me, so my face is a little darker just now. Okay, let me just quickly check the mic settings, because the input of the mic is really low and really shouldn't be that low. Let's see. Sometimes Windows decides to cap my microphone for some reason. So let me just fix that. Okay, at least it's using the correct mic. And yep, my levels were down to 40 for some reason. Okay, now you should hear me much better than before. Let me know in the chat if you're there. Just give me a hi. I'm just going to test the chat that everything's working. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Sonja. I'm a motion designer, and I animate all manner of things within the 2D vector animation space. I do GIF illustrations or GIF animations, sticker animations, depending on what you want to call them, and also explainer videos, product ads, and event trailers for various clients. And yeah, if you like this content, then please make sure to hit the thumbs up button. And if you'd like to support me, I'd love it if you could give it a subscribe. If you're on Twitch, then you can give me a follow, or you can even become a patron of mine on patreon.com/Sonja Geracsek. So that's also an option. Okay, so let's switch to the screen. This is my Illustrator project that I've set up for this. It's a storyboard where so far I've only put in the text, and Andy has kindly sent me, so this is Andy's rough storyboard of what he would like to appear on screen, and I'm going to find graphics to make this more designed and at a different illustrative level. And he's kindly provided this storyboard with the text at the bottom here, if you can see that. And so now I know how long this should be on screen while he's saying these parts of the script. And I've already exported the images as JPEG files, which I'm now going to import into After Effects. Into Illustrator, sorry. We're not in After Effects, we're in Illustrator. So, I think I need to create a new layer for... I've added a whole bunch of other stuff to this sideboard. Usually I only have the layers here, so I'm getting a little confused. I'm just going to add a layer, and this is going to be let's call it the rough storyboard. And now I can place stuff, if I remember correctly, it's placing Control-Shift-P. Yes, I remembered correctly. Okay, so let's go to the folder. I don't remember where it is. It's collaboration. And this is the folder with all of the images. So I'm going to import all of these. And I want them to be linked, so in case I want to... oh wow, those are really tiny. Much smaller than that screen, but that's fine. Okay, so this frame is going to be on screen until he finishes saying the periodic table of cyber attacks. So that's here. So basically, I'm going to adjust this screen. I'm going to adjust this text, and I'm going to make it be one line. I'm just going to fit these two. And I probably could resize this to be the width of this. Oh, damn it. It was resizing from the center instead of the corner, and now it's exactly the right size. Cool. And the next line would be this one. Okay, I just saw that the mic is picking up some of the noise from the outside. I'm just gonna pull that down a little bit. Last time I tried to pull that down, it kept resetting itself, so don't know if that's gonna work, but let's pull it down to like 80. And then when I'm not talking, there shouldn't be any any noise being picked up, so cool. Happy New Year, Tom! Thanks for joining for the first stream of the year. Actually, the first stream since like mid-December, I think. Okay, so this one is and the blueprint for the blah 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 defense series. Great, so this is the next one, and that's only about 1 frame long because we're showing it's this acronym, I think. Yeah, so it's the MITRE attack. So I can do some fancy, this can move out of screen. These 3 attack, detect, defend can move off screen. And then this text can become larger, move into the center, and MITRE can get typed onto the screen. So I can probably do something like that. And then for the next screen, we can do a similar thing. MITRE disappears, attacks becomes larger. We get to see this text, and these bars can kind of animate in. I think that would make sense for these 3 screens. So basically what I'm trying to do here is adapt or kind of plan within my storyboard how I want to animate it. If I was working with a designer who was creating the storyboard with me, which was the case in previous in-house jobs that I've had, where there was a dedicated illustration and design department, they would produce the graphics and they would put this storyboard together for me so that I kind of knew which scene followed which and roughly how things should animate. and then I would add the little polishes and details as I would like myself. But kind of, I would already have a kind of idea of how things should animate. So they would already think about what's possible or how things should appear on screen. So since I'm doing the job of that imaginary design department, in my case, I kind of want to have to think about how the animation works. So I'm not just putting the images on screen just to fill the storyboard. I kind of already want to go through the animation and imagine how things are going to appear, and basically then yeah, once I get to After Effects, kind of just execute that planning. So I'm already planning in the storyboard and design phase. Okay, so let's go back to place. And I won't highlight all of them because right now I just want to place this single one and make it the size of this. And then that goes until series, and this one is a super long sentence, and nefarious objectives is the next sentence. So it's actually all of these sentences together. So I can actually bring them all in. It's super, super long. That's okay. Not a lot is happening here, so I don't think that I need a whole lot of frames. But because not a lot is happening in this scene, but it's a lot of text. Like normally, if you saw my last stream where I was working on this, you might remember me talking about that I'm breaking up the sentences so the length of the sentence fits the screen width. So this sentence, for example, I'll zoom in, you probably don't see that very well. This sentence is quite short, it fits one frame. This sentence is a little bit longer, so I've put it across 2 frames. That gives me kind of an idea of how long that scene will take in minutes and seconds. So with a length like this, on a frame that's relatively static, I need to kind of space out the animation so that the viewer isn't looking at a super static screen. So it's totally fine that the sentence is long. I just kind of need to keep that in mind, that this will be a longer scene. So what I think I'm going to do is I'll keep it like this, so that I know this is one scene, and I know that the scene has to keep going here. And I'm just going to place that image, which is the 3rd slide. And what I would also normally do at this stage is, so you see these numbers here at the left edge. These are scene numbers. So basically, whenever a scene changes, that I would consider that a new scene. So one could argue that all 3 of these images are part of one scene, because there is the attack, which appears within all 3 scenes and it kind of never disappears. So I could either consider this first image to be one scene, then the second image with just the mitre attack text to be the second scene, and this one with the diagram to be the 3rd scene. Or I could say, okay, depending on my animation, where do I want the breakpoint to be? Where do I want to say, okay, maybe this is a new composition now. So I tend to animate scenes, or let's put it this way. Anything I consider to be as part of one scene will, in After Effects, eventually be one composition. And when there's a switch between 2 distinct scenes, I'll have 2 separate compositions. So there'll be composition 1, composition 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, as correlating with the number of scenes that I've set in Illustrator. So basically at this point I want to decide, do I want this to be one composition or do I want to split them apart? And actually I probably don't want to split them apart because, as I said, I probably want to have the text, the attack, to be the focal point, one layer that really doesn't disappear from this entire scene. It just kind of moves up and down. There's an addition, there's a retraction, but it's that main thing that lives throughout all three of these images. Sorry, I just realized I'm super zoomed out, so you can't actually see that much. I'll just zoom in a little bit more so you can see a little bit more. So basically, I think I'm gonna decide that these three images are actually one scene and not three separate scenes. And I should have a scene number here, and the scene number should be on top. And really, this scene number doesn't necessarily mean that much right now. Since I'm not handing this over to anybody, it's just my work that I will be animating later. So it's not really important that I keep the scene numbers on the screen. But it does help me later on when I'm breaking up the scene. So once I've populated my storyboard with the final graphics, these are only the rough graphics that I was given by Andy, but I'm going to transform them into the final graphics. And once I've done that, I will break up each scene into its own Illustrator file that will have all the components in it that I will then import into After Effects as a composition, which will then be the scene inside the entire animation, inside the entire video. And so these scene numbers will act as the numbering for each one of these Illustrator files first of all, and then compositions second of all. So the numbering, seeing the numbering on the storyboard is not really that important for myself. It is quite useful if you're working within a team and you're handing off the storyboard to somebody else who's going to work with it. So in that sense, I would recommend doing that if you know, you haven't worked in this way before. You know, this is just my way of working and it's proven quite effective over the years. But even for myself, the reason I like to stick to my workflow is because as soon as you simplify your workflow, let's say because it's a smaller project or you're not working within a team, you're just doing a personal project, it's just you that's working on it, you start simplifying your workflow, you lose the habit of that more structured workflow. So even if I'm just working for myself and it's just my personal project, I still like to stick to the more complex, more rigid, more planned and structured workflow, because once I lose the habit of following that, then more complex projects and client projects are going to start becoming a mess because I'm no longer used to following that workflow. So that's just a word of advice. Don't throw your structures out the window just because it's an easy project or a not important project or just a quick job or whatever you might call it. So yeah, I definitely like to stick to my guns no matter what I'm working on. So basically this is why I'm doing it, this structured storyboard, instead of just kind of thinking about it in my mind, like how could I animate this and then just kind of going for it. I'm following the steps that I would normally follow for this type of project. And plus I want to show you what I would do if it was a client project. So that's the other thing. Okay, so now I'm going to duplicate this one, and what I can do now, I can just copy this and then highlight the next artboard and just Control-Shift-V, so paste in place, I think it's what it's called. And because it knows, Illustrator knows the position of this image on this artboard, it will put it in the same place on the next artboard that you highlight, which is why it's sometimes funny when I have a different artboard highlighted. Let's say I have this artboard highlighted, and then I copy. I can't even show you how I would do that. So if I copied this but had this artboard highlighted, okay, so if I click on this and then hold shift and somehow manage to highlight a different artboard, if I copy this now and say, okay, I want this to be pasted onto this artboard, I paste it, it will paste it 2 artboards to the left because that's where I copied it from. This image was 2 artboards to the left of this one. So have an eye out for that when you copy pasting in Illustrator. It will remember, oops, it will remember the position of the objects relative to the artboard that you have highlighted. All right. Wow, I'm not used to talking this much on my own anymore. I'm already feeling like, whoa, there's a lot of talking. Okay, so we are on to the next sentence. Nefarious objectives. Yep, that's the last 2 keywords, not keyboards. And then the next one starts with MITRE, ends with software vulnerability. So that's also quite a long sentence. So I'm just gonna... I hate that it's not showing me the alignment. Okay, so this is definitely going to be a few artboards. Even these 4 artboards is not long enough to hold this long a sentence. So yeah, that just shows me that, yeah, that's gonna be a really long scene. Just move that closer to there. That's gonna be a really long scene, so I'm gonna have to think about how I'm going to do the animation so it's not too static, basically. So Andy's idea was that this MITRE attack graphic, can we call it a graphic? It's I don't know, let's call it a graphic. Thanks, Tom. At least, yeah, I'm not rambling. Okay, so let's call this the MITRE attack graphic. I think I used a different keyword for this in before. A system, it's, I think, no, it's breaking into the system. Okay, it's the graphic. He wants this to shrink on the screen and then get put into one of these trucks. Shrink the screen into the side of the MITRE attack, into the attack truck in the next scene, and then they drive away. I don't know if those are super cool visuals, and I might want to think about other visuals to visualize what is happening here. But for now, we'll just put this into the storyboard, and then once I'm done putting all of the images here, I'm going to think about how I can improve on the design of some of these images, or this imagery, really. 1920. And then this is... I wonder if I can... No, I cannot highlight multiple artboards. I'm gonna have to do it one after the other. So if you wanted to paste one graphic to all the artboards that you have in your Illustrator file, you could hit Control-Shift-Alt-V. I'm on Windows, so you're gonna have to figure it out if you're on Mac. Sorry. But you can do that, and it will paste it to every single artboard in the same position. Be aware that it also pastes to the very first artboard that the graphic exists on already, so you're gonna have to delete that. So just FYI if you didn't know that. Okay, now, and as you can see, we're already shrinking, like we are a whole row of artboards higher than how I estimated the length of this animation to go. And that's because I didn't, before I started doing the storyboard, I didn't request from Andy the rough storyboard with the script attached to it. He sent me the script separately and the rough storyboard separately. So when I was putting together the storyboard, when I was putting all of the script into my little storyboard windows and the scenes, I was doing it by feeling like how long one of these sentences might take, but I didn't take into account of how many visuals he anticipated there being while he's talking. So I'm going to have to make allowances for that, because obviously some of these scenes are really long with a lot of text but not a lot of animation, so I'm gonna have to come up with ideas of how I can make it look lively without changing the scene, basically. And what else? There was another point I was going to make. Yeah, I should have really asked, before doing this work in the storyboard and putting all of the little script lines in there, I should have really requested that Andy send me a version of where he adds the script to the singular frames in the storyboard. So that was my bad. I should have really done that before starting work on anything. So that's my advice to you. Before you start work on anything, double check that you have all the assets and all the information required from your client, if it's a client project, before you get going with anything. Yeah, so, but, you know, we're not perfect and something might slip through the cracks once in a while, so it can happen. Now, the next thing is we're going from mitre back to this graphic, and I wonder if it's really necessary to have this visual of the mitre and the attack truck driving away. Hi there! Thanks for joining, Becky! Good to see you. Yeah, so I might want to fashion something where we don't go to a different screen and then kind of more or less come back to this screen. So if I'm able to do that, then the first scene might even extend all the way to here, because we would be going back and forth between the system, like this diagram and the text and whatever other graphics I'd like to add to this. So I'm gonna have to think about that. But like I said, for now, we're just inputting the information, and then we're gonna see, actually, I'm just gonna grab this entire track and just put it up here. Maybe I'll just duplicate that so that I have the approximate position. So normally how I do it with audio is I will request to have the audio before I start animating. So at this stage where I'm putting in the script, and since the client, or Andy, has provided me with some rough graphics, I don't need to really have a huge understanding on how to space this with good timing, because he's already provided that. In other cases, yeah, I might want to do that. I might want to understand how long it takes. But actually, you know, that's kind of what I did last time when I didn't know what his vision of how long a scene will take was. I kind of just input the script into my storyboard just by the visual length of the text, because I have a certain text size that I'm using in this template that I've had for years. I kind of know that just visually this length of text will require this length of scene. So it's like two artboard kind kind of frames, if you will, and that means it's a relatively long scene. The more artboards in my storyboard, you know, like this one compared to this one, I can already see, okay, this is a very long scene. Normally, a scenes of a few seconds would probably be 1 or 2 artboards. So this is an extremely long scene with 4 artboards, okay? So just from experience and using my own storyboard template, I kind of have a rough idea of how long. I couldn't tell you in exact seconds or minutes, but I have a rough idea of how long these scenes are. So that's kind of how I do it in my mind. But then yeah, as soon as I start animating, I really do need an audio to work with. It's I used to work with rough audio, then do a rough take of the animation, then get the clean audio and then do a clean take of the animation, but that's so much additional work. Like usually when you're working with an experienced audio voiceover artist, they kind of know how to make a voiceover sound fluid with the right pauses, and even if the pauses are not where you need them to be, maybe you need to show more in the animation than there is time in text or in the script, you can just break up the audio and make the pauses longer, but kind of just the speech flow comes from having a professional voiceover artist record these scripts. So at the storyboard stage, no, I don't work with audio, but as soon as we enter the animation stage, I need to have audio. Otherwise, it just takes longer. So, you know, if the client can't provide the audio in time, then that's a stage where you advise the clients, okay, we can wait, or I can do this animation now, but then it's going to be double the amount of work because the adjustments to the new audio can sometimes take as long as animating the thing from scratch. So at that point, I would just have a conversation with the client and say, look, this is where we're at. If you don't want your budget to increase or the price of this project to increase, then I advise you to get the final voiceover done before the animation stage starts. So that's how I normally work. Okay, let's keep going. So this next frame, I've got that one. Let's take a look at the framework. So this one is actually, oh my god. All right, this one is like super long. But all right, so basically this one is exactly as short as is perfect for this. Yeah, as you can see, this scene with 5 frames, that's going to be a really long one too. So I'm going to have to think about how I can make that more interesting so that the viewer is not looking at a static screen while the super long text is being spoken. Okay, let's place the next frame, which is this one. And this is going only on that frame, and this other frame has a new graphic. I mean, it's not a new graphic, I guess it's additional graphics. And whoops, I want this so to be 1920, and I want to paste this. And this is a really, really long script. So we're going all the way from each individual and then all of these cells get highlighted until, let's have a look at each tactic in a little bit more detail. And I actually thought those were several different scenes, but it turns out that's just one massive scene. So I'm gonna squish all of this text together to allow for this scene to have all that it needs. So that's a really long sentence. I'm just gonna keep it here. Whoa, whoops. Made that too small. Okay. Then I can remove these because they are from the other one. Nah, come on. I've never used any other software tool for storyboarding, so I've always storyboarded in Illustrator, or I've created storyboards by hand in like a kind of like a printed out template sheet, and then scanned it in, and then added text in Adobe Acrobat just for the client to see what's supposed to be happening. So yeah, I have no experience in any other program. And I think this is the last one. This text looks way longer than what I can see. Let's have a look at each tactic in a little bit more detail. That text looks way longer than what I have in my storyboard here. I wonder if I missed out on something. Let's check the text. Rather than yeah, it seems to be the correct text in here. In order, columns, end-to-end attack, and system to system. Yep, seems to be the right text. So this scene is gonna be so long. So I'm gonna have to find out how to make this scene a little less static. I mean, some stuff is happening, like these little parts are being highlighted as Andy is talking, but even still, I think that's really long to be stuck on the same screen. So I might want to think about some like filler animation, you know, like a HUD like something like this, but you know, like something like this, not quite as involved, not like VFX style, but like, ooh, that has lots of sound. Like some sort of around the graphic animation that kind of keeps the viewer engaged without actually showing anything more, if you know what I mean. So maybe I need to come up with a diagram that's kind of working along those lines, just to kind of, yeah, keep the interest going for a scene this long. Okay, so next scene. Oh no, I got rid of the last line. Now I have to reposition this again. It's not a big deal. I like things in the correct order, and I'm not in the correct order anymore, so that makes me sad. Okay, so now we are going to the next scene, and we're starting with the first step and ending with social engineering, which is structure, social engineering all the way here. So again, I'm gonna squish this really, really tight. And I'm gonna bring this one up here. And yeah, so this kind of, oh, why are you doing that? Okay, doesn't matter. Structure, social engineering. I'm holding shift and it's still jumping all around. I hate that. So something like this. Yep. So this next scene is 6 frames long. Well, frames. Yeah, let's call them frames. Why not? And this one will be here. Probably not the best way to position that. I'll remove this one and this one. And I'll push this text up. And actually we don't have this line anymore, that's in the next line. So this will significantly be squashed together. Now the next image that we have is this one. And that wants to go here. And then we are on to our next frame, which is this one. And I'm gonna have to do some sort of magic with these two things coming together into this column and then the other column showing that. I mean, I might not design it in these specific columns. I'll just see what I can do with these, with the design. But yeah. So we're starting with the first step. No, that's the social engineering. Another key step and later stages. Another key step, okay. Then later stages. This one, okay, ends with this. So it's about this long. So let's bring that graphic in, and that graphic is this one. Excellent. And then I want the next frame, which is this one, which starts with the right preparations and social engineering, which is this one. And these go here. Now I can get rid of that. And this scene continues until here. So it's about this long. And now, once I reach the end of this storyboard, I can bring in the text from the next storyboard that I've already prepped in the last stream. So let's bring in this graphic. Which is this one. All right, and at this point, we are going to start a new sentence. So what I'm gonna do is just gonna grab this. Going to leave this here. And I'm just going to add it to this sentence because it's going to be one whole scene anyway. Gonna add an ellipses here so I know that this is a continuous scene. And then let's bring in that graphic, which is this one. They shouldn't. It should end on they shouldn't. But it ends on discovery, so I'm guessing the rest of the script is in the next storyboard. So I'm going to open that storyboard as well. Come on. Why are you being awkward, illustrator? Why are you being awkward? It's not letting me make this smaller, which is very strange. Give me just a second. Oh, it really won't, huh? For some reason I can't make my OBS smaller now, even though it already was smaller than this. God, why are you being so awkward? Great. This is great. Yep, for some reason my OBS won't get smaller than it is currently, which means it's going to be showing on my screen. That's so annoying. I don't know what happened. You were already smaller. Get smaller. God damn it. Okay, well, it is what it is. You're gonna have to see a portion of my OBS. Sorry. OBS is not cooperating. Okay, so this is the second storyboard. So now I want to get the text from here. And that's exactly what we end on. Or perhaps relied on tricking an innocent user into doing something they shouldn't. ... And then stuff happens. So we'll grab this and we'll put it here. It just places it in a random spot, but that's okay. And then again, we want the graphic. Whoops, sorry, just switched to the wrong view. Come on, OBS. Don't be so annoying. Okay. Anyway. So, where are we? Right, I was resizing this. And then I would like to make this then we want to copy this onto these frames. And save. Never forget to save. Alright, so the next thing is this. So a common step. And then it ends on various techniques. Excellent. You know what? I'm just gonna make Illustrator this size, even if OBS refuses to be that size. There we go. Sorry, got distracted with some OBS settings. Okay, so next text, I already forgot. Various techniques is the last sentence, so I can remove this from here, and this goes until it's all 4 of these. So let's grab those and put them in here. They are definitely going to fit now, since I'm going to have to squish them together a little bit more. Okay, does that still fit, kind of? It's taking up a lot of space. Okay. This one, this one. And this one. Actually, I might just stretch this out because there's going to be a next scene, so there's no point keeping this on just keeping one frame from the next scene in this storyboard. Might as well. Might as well squish this together. Okay. I think I'll just steal this sentence just so I have a more realistic idea of how long this is going to take. Yep, and this fits much better now, so it's going to be, again, quite a long scene, this one. So I think in general I'm gonna have to come up with a design that implements that kind of HUD design. So there's like little continuous looped animations happening while we are looking at the actual information explainer graphics. So I'm gonna have to come up with something for that. What I'd like to avoid is having too many things on screen at the same time. So, the way Andy has done this is he split the screen into 3 for this graphic, and it works very well in a PowerPoint presentation, but I think in an animation sense, you don't really need to see all of the steps that you've talked about at the same time on screen, so I might well just break this apart and not have all of them on screen at the same time. But perhaps with this one actually it is necessary, because I think what he's talking about here is the initial access, there being a shortcut for the hacker to the execution so that they can do the bad thing that they want to do. So I guess maybe this one does need to be on the same screen somehow, but maybe I can simplify the way this looks. So, okay, so we don't have imagery for this. I can come up with something, that's fine. So the next one is this one common theme, and now we're gonna save this one, and we're now in the second storyboard. So I can actually move this up. I'll duplicate it instead of deleting it. And, oh god, now I don't know which one's which. Alright, remove this one. Okay, this is too duplicate. Now I don't know which one was there before, which one was the other one. Okay, it's the one with date. So, date. Yay. Alright, and I can remove, I think both of these, right? Yeah, I think these were the ones that I moved onto the other storyboard. Okay, I'm just keeping these for reference, for position reference. Okay, next one. So, I can actually squash this down a bit, I think. Cover the track. So actually, yeah, it finishes here. So let's squash this down just a little bit more. So now it can be like these 3 frames, and this can just be this one. It's very, very tight. All right. Yeah. Now we're going to place the next graphic, which is this one. And then the next one is cover their tracks. No, that was the previous one. Ends on privileges. So this actually has to be longer. So, and privileges is, oh, there are two sentences that end on privileges. I need system level privileges all the way here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is move this up here, remove this. Probably, yeah, I can move this one up here. And then I can squash these two down to like cover this many frames. And yeah, I'm gonna have to come up with some graphics because Andy couldn't think of anything, which is fine because I'm coming up with graphics anyway. All new graphics. So we can cross that bridge when we get to it. System level privileges. Okay. Now let's save that. And then the next one is, starts with it's unlikely, ends with their end objective. Okay, it's unlikely. Where is that? Shouldn't this be there? Oh no, am I missing some text? I think I might be missing text. Credential access. Okay, credential access is here. I wonder if he's changed the text slightly. It's unlikely that the attacker might want to compromise the system. I don't have that text, so I'm gonna just copy it from here. I think the credential access techniques, I have that part. Yeah. Oh, this has to go up here. And then we have, yeah, there's like a different, I guess I have this. Oh, he must have changed the text slightly. Okay, that's fine. So just making sure that I have the correct text here. I'm just going to copy it from here in case he's changed anything else. And that's such a long line anyway that it will probably need to... Yep, that's a really long line. So that's going to be quite a few frames, this. And same with this line, it's slightly shorter, but still quite hefty. So this is a super, super long scene. And that's all on this graphic. So it actually starts with it's unlikely. Yep. Wow, this scene is super, super hefty. I'm gonna have to think about how I'm going to liven that up. But I guess there's a lot going on in this scene anyway. So maybe if I split it apart, these 3 different segments, maybe I can split that apart and make it look slightly different. All right, now we're gonna get to the next part, complex multi-hop attacks. And this text, I also don't have it here. Huh. Does this end on the end objective? Yeah. Command and control. Responses back. He must have slightly... Oh no, here. It's down here. So... another key step. Complex multi-hop attacks. Oh yeah, it's down here. Okay. So we've actually moved really far. Really far away. Send commands to the machines under their control. Okay. Whoa. Illustrator was unresponsive for a second. So I can get rid of these. I can not get rid of that. Okay. So let's add the next graphic, which is this one. So as you can see, setting up a storyboard, I haven't even started this design process. Setting up a storyboard takes quite a bit of time. So if you are thinking of putting together a proposal to inform a client of what a project might cost or the duration of how long it might take to do, and they require you to submit a storyboard to them, don't underestimate the amount of time it takes to even just set up the storyboard, not even included the design stage of the storyboard. So just keep that in mind when you are quoting a project price. Oh, I just noticed that my microphone is super low again. Why does it keep jumping around? I don't understand. Hello. I think it's when I'm speaking like this super close, it may adjust the level. I don't know if that's what it's doing, but it's super annoying. No, it's still at 80, but it's still super low. Yeah. Maybe let's put this just a little higher so my volume isn't quite so capped. I hope you can still hear me fine though. Okay, so we are at this stage. We're almost finished with the rough storyboard. That's probably as far as I'm gonna get today. So if you have any questions while I'm still live, drop them in the chat and I can let you know what my experience is with whatever thing you're wondering about. They'll then use an exfiltration system or alarms. Okay. Oh, I think I deleted some text that I wasn't supposed to delete. Oops. Nope, it's this one. So we'll be opening Storyboard 3 to make those amends. Okay, then that's the next graphic, which is this one, I believe. The one, oh, did I not add this graphic yet? Oh, I skipped a step. From here, I went to here, and actually it needs to be this one. Okay, I need to make those adjustments. I'll just add this one here. So let's bring this down. Receive responses back is the last line. Yep, so I skipped this one. The last set of tactics, which is this. And that's this guy. Whoops. No! I hate when I do that. And then, okay, this one actually starts here, great. All right, and then systems or alarms is what this ends on. Yep. Then the next one is some attackers, critical system. So I actually don't need this anymore. I need to take the rest of the text from here. Some attackers, critical systems. Excellent. Whoops, that's my screensaver coming on. I forget. Yep, this one with the door. So we have a question from Tom. So the workflow is to, yes, create a rough storyboard if this wasn't already provided by the client. In this case, it was provided by the client, so now I'm just kind of adding it to my storyboard, then do some research, find graphics or design the graphics. So then the design stage happens, where usually if you're producing the graphics, you usually have a feedback phase where you send the storyboard to the client. So in that case, I would actually also have a subtitles layer where obviously you can't see that because I don't have any subtitles, but I would take the text that I've put above the scenes and I put it on the actual scenes. That's another reason why I create this in Illustrator, because I have the storyboard, all the graphics, all the text, everything in one stage. So then when I move to the illustration phase and prepping the graphics for animation phase, it all happens within one software. I don't have to import it from another software. So maybe that's the reason why I've never looked into storyboarding software, because the workflow is just so smooth from one design stage to another. And yeah, so then there's the animatic stage. I actually animate a pretty detailed animatic, so it's not graphics from the storyboard, because the storyboard graphics would already be locked in before the animation stage normally. So before I move into the animation stage, I wouldn't create an animatic the way you would traditionally do it, where you take the storyboard and just put the static images into the timeline to kind of illustrate how the video flows. The rough animation that I would create would already be to like 80 or 90% animated with the final graphics. So I very rarely animate something and then swap out the graphics. To be more precise, I very rarely do an animatic where the graphics aren't signed off yet before I move to the final animation stage. But yeah, there is still a first draft animation stage, so to speak. Then the refine the animation stage, where in between there's usually a feedback stage between me and the client. At the final stage, there is the last feedback stage, but this will be just to tune a few like tiny details, maybe add the link at the end of the trailer for the company or for the brand or whatever the video is for. And then the syncing of the audio actually doesn't happen at the end. So this is why I always request the audio at the beginning of the animation stage, because I'm animating in sync with the audio. I'm not doing the syncing afterwards, because there is so much work involved in readjusting keyframes, sometimes with like scene transitions. It's more work to do the adjusting than waiting for the final audio and then doing the animation with the final audio. Sometimes the adjustments are as labor intensive as if I was to animate it from scratch. So I try to avoid that, because it's, you know, it's not budget friendly, it's not deadline friendly. So I do always try and get the final audio approved, signed off before I start animating. So I actually animate to the final timing, so that I can be sure that very minimal changes might happen. Maybe the executive decided that they wanted this one sentence to be said slightly differently, and that might throw off the timing just by a few frames or seconds. These types of changes I'm happy to do. I mean, I'm happy to do any kind of changes, of course, but it just is a thing of time and budget, right? Sometimes you just know that there is a hard deadline that cannot be moved, and if a client wants a certain giant change, suddenly they've decided they don't want a male voiceover artist, they want a female voiceover artist, and therefore the whole voiceover is going to be re-recorded. Well, at that stage, it's really important to have a conversation with the client, inform them it's not a simple swap. Even one recording by the same voiceover artist will have different timing than a previous recording. So a whole other person recording the same script will have a whole lot of different timings to which the animation has to be synced to. So if that's going to be the case, then that's not going to fit into the deadline. If they are willing to move the deadline, then you can say, yeah, that's no problem. It's just going to change the budget, because if there are unforeseen, undiscussed changes to the scope of your project, you should definitely say, well, there's going to be a change to the budget as well, because you've changed the scope of the project. That's super important. And obviously there's going to be timing changes, because that is an unforeseen change to the project timeline that now has to be incorporated, which means that's why the budget is changing, okay? You're not changing the budget because you feel like it. You're changing it because more work has now entered the scope, which has to be paid. So therefore, that's how I would go about it. And you always want to have like a nice conversation with your client. You know, I would recommend not to go ahead and say, no, that is not a possibility. You can say that in your head or like to yourself. I sometimes do that. No, that you cannot do this. But then to the client, you kind of sometimes need to take them by the hand and say, look, this is these are the impacts that this decision is going to have. Are you willing to take on the consequences of this impact, of these changes? So the consequences might be the deadline has to move, and it might on top of that be that the budget has to change because the scope changed. So, you know, it's these types of conversations that you generally have. I try to avoid that by saying to the client, you know, after this stage, there are no changes in, you know, these types of changes are no longer allowed. But if the client wants those changes to happen anyway, then you can say, okay, that's fine. But like I said, the scope has changed, so we need to have a conversation. So yeah, that's kind of the way I try to work. All right, so keep asking questions if you have any other questions. Throw them at me while I'm still setting up this storyboard. I'm free to answer any kind of questions that you might have. All right, where was I? Where did I leave off? Oh, right, I was doing this. Okay. Whoops. I'm copy pasting the text and not the graphics. And this goes until critical systems. Okay. Critical systems, always save. Control S for save. Works for most programs, not just Adobe. Memorize it, it'll be your most trusted friend. Okay, critical systems. Okay, so then we have this. I'll just copy all of this over. I'm pretty sure it's going to fit into the second storyboard. Yeah, we have quite a few frames here, so I'm just going to move that in here. Something like that. Okay. Oh, okay, now I don't know which ones. Okay, I'll just leave this like that. And I'll get rid of these. And then I can move all of these together. So, something like this. Yeah, let's have this cross 2. As you can see, so it starts with as you can see and ends with successful for them in the past. Yep. Okay, so I have all of that text, and now I'm just going to position it. Yay. A little bit more squashing necessary here. Alright, and that's the end, so we don't actually need the third storyboard. I did have a sneaking suspicion that I might have been stretching it out too much, but I was just going for... Yeah, and then there is no more animation. Yeah, I did have a sneaking suspicion that my graphics, my storyboards were too stretched out. But yeah, you'll never know until you actually set it up. Thanks for joining, Becky. Hope to see you next time. I'll be streaming on Friday again. Same time. That's a lot of text. Why is there so much text? Am I missing a graphic? I think I'm missing a graphic. Hang on a second. So this is... I think this should be all the same text, right? A same scene. Oh, that's a whole lot of text. Yeah, I guess it should be. Let me double check. That's again a really super long scene, but oh, we are missing some graphics. Okay, so this one should actually have... No, there is no other scene. It's this one, then the dude walking out of the door, then the computer being on fire, and then we're here. Alright. Okay, so we're at 2 storyboards. And the scenes are really, really long. So again, like I said, I'm gonna have to come up with an idea. If you didn't join into the previous stream, I'm gonna give you an idea of what the illustrations are gonna look like. So I'm going to be using Undraw, which is a free illustration site. I think you're allowed to use you're allowed to use them for both personal and commercial projects. And you can download these as SVGs and just plug them onto your website or wherever you want to go. You can even change the color beforehand, or you can just use them as you can download them and open them in Illustrator to use them as Illustrator files, which is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to actually be going closer to a color like this. And I'm going to be using these types of graphics, this sort of thing, these little guys as characters that are going to show up in the scenes. So this is kind of the look that I'm going for. So there's going to be scenes like this where, you know, there's a little bit of bleeping and blooping and lights turning on and off. So that's the idea. That's how I'm going to try and make it look interesting without without a lot happening in the scenes. Yeah, it's a really cool website. So if you need any kind of graphics for your projects, the only thing that you can't do with these graphics is like print them on a t-shirt or something. So use them in a way where you're essentially selling the graphic, because if you're printing them on a t-shirt and the t-shirt is just a plain t-shirt, there was no work on your part went into that project, so to speak. You're just using the graphic to be sold as that graphic on another thing, then I think that's the only thing that's really excluded from using these graphics. But to be used in an explainer video, I think that's still fine. I mean, for this project, I absolutely don't have to worry about it because it's not a commercial project. It's just for fun between me and Andy. So that's like, you know, that's definitely the kind of project you can use it on. It's only when it comes to commercial projects where you should probably read the fine print on the website. So it's undraw.co. They do have an Instagram account, but they don't post anything there, so I don't know if it's worth mentioning. But yeah, this is a really cool website, and it's all like kind of the same style. I think it's all created by one artist. I think her name is somewhere on the site. I don't know. If you're really curious, then you can find out. But yeah, here it is, open source license. It's truly open, babe. So, oh yeah, here, created by Katerina Limpizzoni. I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm sorry. If it sounds like it's Greek or something like that. I do not know how to pronounce Greek. So, there's that. So yeah, it's a really cool website. You can do a whole bunch of things with this. I've used it for other types of my animation. If you go to my Instagram account at Sonja Geracsek, you can add me there, and you can see things like, wow, that's a really cool illustration. You can see things like, this is from Undraw, which I've used to animate this little graphic that announces my blog, which you can find on the blog.sonjageracsek.me. I've used their graphics for... I did a little mindfulness meditation animation. This one, I found this graphic super beautiful. So it's very simple animation, basically kind of just using the graphic in my own brand colors with the handwritten text kind of appearing over top. So yeah, it's a really cool website. Highly recommend. This is also one of their illustrations that I've animated for a Motion Mondays challenge. Yeah, so have a look. Now you have a new resource for free illustration work. Yeah, so thanks for everyone joining in today. Thanks, Tom, for joining as well. My true my true fan who always shows up to my streams. So it's weird calling other people's fans. I'm not the celebrity, so I take that word back. But thanks for all your support, Tom. I really appreciate it. Yeah, Tom is also my one and only patron on Patreon, and if you'd like to be an absolute awesome person, you can become a patron as well under patreon.com/Sonja Geracsek. You will find all of the links to all of my social media and all other things that I've mentioned in the description of this video. Yes, on this video, no matter if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, I will provide all of that information in the description. And so that you don't have to look at my pasty face, I'm gonna close this page so I look a little bit more human. And I'll come back into full screen. I hope you enjoyed today's animation collab, where I experimented in my animation laboratory in collaboration with other artists and other wonderful humans like Andy. I don't think he would call himself an artist since he's tasked me with the artwork side of things. So yeah, thanks for showing up. Yeah, but it's okay. If you arrived late to the stream, the replays are going to be available on my YouTube channel. So if you want to watch the entire stream and all the wisdom that dripped from my experience fingers, I don't know, what am I saying? Then you can watch that on my YouTube channel. You can find it again in the link in the description of this video. Once I end the stream, I will add all of the info bits into the description, or you can just search for my name on YouTube and you'll definitely find me, because I don't think my name is very common, so you won't have any trouble finding me. Yeah, so I'll see you on Friday, because I do stream regularly Tuesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. CEST, no, CET, sorry, the S in CEST is for summertime. We are no longer in summertime, not for a while. So that's Central European time, so join in next time. I will most likely be continuing this collab, unless I feel like less talking, and then I might do a shut up and draw, but I'll let you know on my socials what I'll be doing for that stream on that day. And yeah, I'll see you then. Bye!